Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Crystal, and on today's video, I will be giving this jewelry armoire a glow up. And if you are about to say something like,
Oh my god, don't paint that.
this is where I pulled off the sold at Walmart.com sticker. And this is also where I removed all of the screws to take everything apart to make it easier to paint. I'm using this Dixie Belle chalk mineral paint in the color called Secret Path that I got from my girl Levon over at Statement Designs. I don't usually take my pieces apart to paint them because I can never get them to fit back together correctly, but this one was kind of a no-brainer. I'm using this decoupage paper from Made by Marley, which I also got from Levon over at Statement Designs. I'm taking a wet paintbrush and just painting along the edges, and then I'm going to tear that paper just so that way it kind of blends better when I paint over top of it. Look how gorgeous this paper is though. Lel makes the most beautiful designs. For my decoupage medium, I'm using Aleene's. And for this side, I applied the decoupage medium to the whole entire thing. But for the second side, I worked in smaller sections and I found that to be easier. This paper is on the thicker side, so it is less likely to tear if you need to reposition it. But I always recommend trying to get it on there correctly the first time because it does weaken the paper every time you need to pull it off to reposition it. And then I used a crumpled up piece of saran wrap and rubbed over top of the paper to smooth out some of the wrinkles. And when the paper is completely dry, and I mean completely, you can take a piece of sandpaper and just gently go across the edges to remove off any excess paper. If your decoupage medium is not completely dry before you do this, it will very likely tear your paper. On the front two legs, I'm going to do an ombre effect. So I'm blending a Dixie Belle paint color called Amethyst onto the leg. So I'm starting with a heavier application on the bottom, and then I'm going to take a dry paintbrush and gently pull that paint upward and kind of give it a dry brushing effect. And I do go in and add a little bit of the Secret Path afterwards just to blend it out a little bit better. I do like to mist my brush with some water to lightly water down the very small amount of paint on my paintbrush. This helps spread it out a little bit better and make a nicer, smoother transition for blending. For the inside of the hinge doors, I want to do like a harlequin or checkerboard design in there. So I'm using a box as a straight edge, and I'm not looking for perfection. I want everything to look unique and hand painted. I'm thinking kind of like Alice in Wonderland with optical illusion type images. With a small artist brush, I am painting the inside of my harlequin pattern in the Dixie Belle color called Amethyst. Using the scraps of my decoupage paper, I am doing the sides of the drawers, and I didn't have enough to do all of the drawers, so I just painted the sides and then added stencils and some hand painted stripes. I dry brushed over the fronts of the hinge doors to highlight some of those embellishments on there with the amethyst purple Dixie Belle paint. Using Das air dry clay and these molds from Redesigned by Prima, I am creating molds to go alongside the front of the drawers. With E6000 glue. I'm applying it to the back of the mold and then pressing it on to the areas I want to apply the mold, and then I'm taking some painter's tape to help hold them in place while they dry for a little bit. I continued the flower arrangement all the way up the side of the drawers. Using an X-Acto knife, I trimmed off any excess. For the drawers to open, I just used my X-Acto knife and cut along where the drawer separations would be. Then I painted them all with the secret path color, making sure to get into the little nooks and crannies. Using some white gold metallic wax and an artist brush, I painted the wax on around the trim areas, and then to match my flowers to the decoupage paper, I used some acrylic paints and just color matched them as best as I could in an artist brush, and then I painted everything. With a small artist brush, I went in and went back with the secret path color to touch up any areas. I added some Waverly brand brown wax over top of the flowers to add some more detail and depth. I gave the whole thing 2 coats of clear matte polyacrylic. Using the Dixie Belle color called Amethyst, I am adding some stenciling on the top of the lid, and then I'm also adding some more stencils on the top of the lid with the white gold metallic wax. Using an artist brush, I'm just tapping the paint on to the stencil. I'm offloading my paintbrush onto a piece of cardboard so I do not have too much paint on my paintbrush, and I'm being careful not to push the paint underneath the stencil, and I'm just tapping directly straight down onto the stencil. Hopefully that makes sense. After another application of polyacrylic, it's time to put the whole piece back together again. Let's have a quick look at the before pictures of this jewelry armoire before we check out the final reveal. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments about my jewelry armoire glow up. I absolutely love the way it looks. I am just so thrilled with the colors and the paper and how the molds look. I'm really, really enjoying this maximalist style. Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks again, you guys. Bye.